So, E3 has come and gone yet again, and as such, it's time to talk about the good, the bad, and the just downright weird. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about everything. In fact, I'm not really going to go into all that many details, period. I just want to give you a quick overview of the things I found to be the most noteworthy during this year's conferences. These are my top 5 best and worst things about E3 2015. Number 5, best. We were given quite a few interesting announcements this year, but very few received quite the same reception from the crowd as this one.
At last, the promise has been made.
A little bit of excitement.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people were hoping for this, but not really expecting it. As it turns out though, it is finally going to happen. We are going to get a full-on remake of one of the best JRPGs of all time. As a big fan of this game myself, this is awesome news, especially if it turns out well, but then again... Number 5, worst. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII getting a remake could be brilliant, but let's face it, this could also be a gigantic disaster. After all, this is one of the most beloved games ever made, and remaking something like that without disappointing at least a few people is going to be quite a tall order. If they make too many changes, fans are going to say they butchered it, and if they don't make enough changes, it will just seem lazy and pointless. Again, if it turns out well, brilliant, but I for one have some very strong doubts about this one. Number 4, worst. Ubisoft's press conferences have been a bit hit and miss the last few years. Luckily, they did pretty well this year though, but there was one part that actually made me cringe. What the hell is this? Seriously, I get that they were just trying to get people hyped for Just Dance 2016, but really? This is the best you could do? This guy barely has any dance moves to speak of, and I'm sorry, his singing is atrocious, at least in this performance. Besides, it's not like this is really showing off your new game anyway, even if this guy wasn't laughably horrendous. Seriously, Ubisoft, what the fuck? Number 4, best. Now, I'm not the type of guy who usually gets all that hyped for new gaming tech. I mean, I thought 3D was pretty pointless for the most part, and I'm still not sold on VR. That said, even I thought this was pretty damn cool.
Create world.
Now that is just awesome. Fair enough, this may not work all that well with every kind of game, and there are more than a few concerns in terms of everything from design to actual functionality, but come on! It's a working holographic interface for gaming! The future has finally arrived, and I can't wait to see how it all turns out. Number 3, worst. You know, I get that EA has to talk about their sports titles, I really do, but there has to be a better way of going about it than this. Not only did they go on forever about these games, not only did they basically say and show the exact same thing they do every single year, but then they go ahead and pull this bullshit.
Everything okay? My friend.
Coming in. Can you believe it?
This is just ridiculous. No disrespect to Pele, I'm sure he's a great guy and he is a legend and all, but really? You honestly think that devoting several minutes of your gaming conference on a long-winded, boring and hard-to-understand interview with some old retired football player is going to make anyone more excited about any of your games? What the hell are you smoking, EA? Number 3, best. You know, I'm not really all that interested in getting an Xbox One as of yet. Don't get me wrong, it seems like a decent enough system, but there aren't really enough games on it that I feel warrant a purchase. However, Microsoft did make a certain announcement that definitely has me reconsidering that decision.
Today, I'm pleased to announce Xbox One backward compatibility.
This is fantastic news! Having backwards compatibility is a great way to incentivize a lot of gamers, me included, into getting an Xbox One. After all, if I can play not only all of my 360 games, but also all the new Xbox One games on one system, it suddenly seems like a much better deal. Fair enough, this may not be all that important to everyone, and it's not like every game will be compatible right away, but there's not really any drawbacks to something like this. Those who want to can now play their old games as well, and those who don't care can just keep on playing the new stuff. It's simply a win-win, win-win situation. Number 2, best. I'll just say it, I've never really been a big fan of the Fallout games. I don't really think they're bad or anything, they've just never really appealed all that much to me. Now though, that has all completely changed thanks to Bethesda and their reveal of Fallout 4. This game simply looks amazing, and I don't just mean in terms of graphics. The story, the setting, not to mention the insane amount of character, weapon, armor, and pretty much any other type of customization you can think of, it all looks unbelievable. It also seems to be an incredibly massive game where you'll be allowed to go anywhere and do almost anything you can think of. I simply can't express how much this game impressed me, and there is absolutely no doubt that I'll be picking this one up the second it's released. I honestly can't wait. Number 2, worst. So after watching the EA conference, I didn't think it was going to get much worse. Well, in comes Square Enix to prove me wrong.
I'd like to take a moment or two to talk about the journey we've been on at Square Enix.
Holy hell was this conference boring! Okay, so I admit that I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 looked promising, and the fact that they're making a new Nier game is interesting, but apart from that, there was nothing else worth mentioning. Seriously, this conference was all talk. Talk while wearing a weird moon face talk. They barely showed anything, and what little they did show we'd mostly seen already. Even the translator fell asleep at one point, and I honestly can't blame him. Seriously, Square, the rule is show don't tell, not drone on until people fall into comas. Number 1, worst. I have 5 words for you. 2.5 hours. That's how long the PC gaming show went on for. And what did they have to show for it? Jack and shit. Not one major announcement, not one decent surprise, not the tiniest speck of interesting material whatso-fucking-ever. Okay, so maybe I'm being a little harsh, as I guess there were a few decent showings, but I'm sorry, when you go on for 2.5 fucking hours, you better have something way better than this on offer. I'm not even sure I actually caught everything because my mind went completely numb watching this thing. If this is all we can expect from a PC conference, then I for one am not even a little interested in seeing any more of them. I sincerely hope they can get their act together and improve next year, because this did nothing to showcase PCs as even a viable, let alone a superior gaming platform. The PC gaming show simply sucked. Number 1, best. You know, if I were to look back at previous E3s and compare them to this one, there's one thing I keep coming back to. The fact that this time, it was all about the games. There was no talk about TV and film capabilities, sales numbers and technical specs, not even social media functions. They just focused on the games. This is exactly what E3 should be all about, and I for one am very happy to see the industry finally agreeing with us. Even the companies that may not have had the best conferences still technically focused on the games. Sure, there were 1 or 2 minor deviations, but even they were usually related to actual gaming in one way or another. They weren't just tacked on features that almost no one cares about, they actually had some significance. If this trend continues with future E3s, which I for one sincerely hope it does, then we are all in for a bright future. Sure, there were a few missteps, some much bigger than others, but all in all, this was a pretty great E3, and I for one can't wait to see what the next one will bring. So those were some of my thoughts, but what about you? Which announcements excited you the most? What stories made you snore? Let me know in the comments and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.